You trip in public and nobody even saw it, and your face still goes red. Someone compliments you, and instead of just saying thank you like a normal person, your whole face lights up like you've been caught doing something. You can't stop it. You can't fake it. You can't even really predict when it's going to happen. It just does, right when you'd least like it to. And here's the strange part nobody really thinks about. As far as we know, humans are the only species on Earth that does this. Not dogs, not chimps, our closest living relatives. Not a single other animal has ever been observed doing what your face does involuntarily several times a week. So why does this exist? What is blushing actually for? And did the very first humans blush too? Or is this something we somehow picked up along the way? That's what we're figuring out today. And the answer says something surprisingly deep about what it means to be a social animal. Let's strip this down to its bare core first, because embarrassment turns your face red is the surface-level answer, not the real one. Blushing is your blood vessels, specifically the ones in your face, ears, and upper chest, suddenly widening, allowing more blood to flow closer to the surface of your skin. It's triggered by a rush of adrenaline from your sympathetic nervous system, the same system responsible for fight or flight. Which means, biologically, blushing is your body treating social exposure the exact same way it treats physical danger. That's the detail most people miss. Your body doesn't have a separate alarm system for I'm being looked at, and I feel weird about it versus there's a predator. It's using the same ancient hardware for both. Which raises the obvious question, why would evolution wire embarrassment into the same system built to keep you alive? This isn't a new question. Charles Darwin was obsessed with it. In 1872, Darwin published an entire study specifically on blushing, and he called it the most peculiar and most human of all expressions. He tested it across cultures, across continents, and found something remarkable. People blushed the same way, for the same kinds of reasons, in societies that had never had contact with each other. Not learned from television, not copied from a neighboring culture. The same involuntary reaction, showing up independently, everywhere he looked. And crucially, Darwin noted something else. Blushing requires an audience. Not a real one necessarily. Even imagining being watched can trigger it. But it does not happen in true isolation. You do not blush alone in a room with the lights off and nobody around, thinking about nothing in particular. It is, by its very nature, a social reaction, which tells us it didn't evolve as a private, internal thing. It evolved specifically because other people were watching. Here's where it gets genuinely strange, because from a pure survival standpoint, blushing looks like a bug, not a feature. Think about it. Blushing is involuntary. You cannot suppress it through willpower. It's visible to everyone around you, and it broadcasts, in real time, that you are experiencing social distress. In almost any other context, evolution eliminates traits that make you look vulnerable in front of others. So why would this one stick around, get refined, and become universal across the entire species? The leading theory, developed extensively by psychologist Dr. Keltner and colleagues, is called the appeasement hypothesis. The idea is this: blushing isn't a malfunction. It's a signal, deliberately readable by others, that says I know I broke a social rule, I recognize it, and I feel bad about it, all without a single word being spoken. And that signal is enormously useful for group survival. In a small, ancient band of 20 to 50 people, the same tight, ever-present group you'd be stuck with for your entire life, social rule-breaking couldn't just be ignored. Someone had to acknowledge it, or tension would build and trust would erode. Blushing does that acknowledgement automatically, honestly, and immediately. It's involuntary specifically because an involuntary signal is more trustworthy than a spoken apology. You cannot fake a blush, which means, unlike words, it cannot lie. In other words, the very thing that makes blushing feel humiliating, that you can't control it, is exactly what makes it work. So if blushing is a trust signal, when did it start mattering? Evolutionary psychologists trace this back to the same pressures that shaped early human social cognition more broadly. The shift, sometime in our deep past, toward living in complex, interdependent groups where reputation mattered as much as physical strength. Once humans started relying heavily on cooperation, alliance building, and long-term group trust to survive, rather than pure individual toughness, a reliable, impossible-to-fake honesty signal would have been enormously valuable. This lines up with a broader pattern anthropologists see across early human social evolution. Traits that make an individual's internal state visible and hard to fake tend to get selected for in highly social species because they reduce uncertainty. A group of ancient humans who could trust each other's blushes, so to speak, could resolve social friction faster, forgive faster, and stay cohesive faster than a group that couldn't. And cohesive groups, in a world with predators, rival bands, and unpredictable food supply, survived at meaningfully higher rates. So the theory goes, blushing may not have started as an accident of vanity or awkwardness. It may have started as one of the earliest honest signaling systems our species ever developed, older, quite possibly, than spoken apology itself. This brings us back to that strange fact from the hook. As far as researchers have observed, humans appear to be the only species that blushes from social self-consciousness. Other primates absolutely have social hierarchies, absolutely feel something like shame or submission, and absolutely have physical ways of signaling it. Averted eyes, crouched posture, submissive gestures. But none of them have been documented doing the specific thing humans do, an involuntary, visible reddening of the face triggered purely by the awareness of being socially observed and judged. Researchers believe this connects to something else uniquely developed in humans, a highly advanced theory of mind, the ability to model, in real time, what another person is thinking about you specifically. Blushing may require a level of self-conscious, reflective social awareness that most other species simply haven't evolved. You can't blush over what they must think of me without first being capable of imagining, in real detail, what's happening inside someone else's head. Which means blushing isn't just a leftover physical quirk. It might be a direct physical side effect of one of the most sophisticated cognitive tools our species ever developed. Visible proof, quite literally on your face, that you're capable of imagining yourself through someone else's eyes. So bring this back to the tripping in public moment. The compliment that somehow made things worse. The face going red for absolutely no strategic reason you can identify in the moment. You weren't malfunctioning. You were running one of the oldest honest signaling systems your species ever built. A system so trustworthy specifically because you can't control it, so ancient it may predate spoken apology, and so uniquely human that, as far as we can tell, no other creature on the planet does it the way you just did. It also means something a little more comforting. The thing you've spent your whole life being embarrassed about is the mechanism. The embarrassment isn't a failure of the system. The embarrassment, and the blush that comes with it, is the entire point. It's your body's way of publicly, honestly, involuntarily saying I see what just happened, and I care what you think, which, it turns out, is one of the most deeply social things a human being can do without saying a single word. So the next time your face goes red over something that, rationally, doesn't matter at all, know that you're not broken and you're not overreacting. You're running hardware that may be older than language, unique to your species, and specifically designed to be impossible to fake. Every ancient human who ever broke a social rule and felt their face flush in front of the same 30 people they'd known their entire lives. They were doing exactly what you just did. Same wiring, same signal, same species, doing the same deeply human thing, tens of thousands of years apart. Some things are ancient. Some things are just human. This is one of them. If you want more of these, the strange, hidden histories of the things we never question, hit subscribe, because there's a lot more where this came from.